Mr Deputy President, I rise to make a brief contribution to this debate. We are very privileged in Australia and in New South Wales to have such a healthy, flourishing democracy. And in fact, the success of our democracy is something that we tend not to think about and largely take for granted. And it's not until we zoom out and look at some of the problems with electoral systems elsewhere in the world that the strength of our democracy really comes into focus. The United States of America, for example, has historically been held to be a beacon of democracy, and yet right now US states are actively and shamelessly gerrymandering their electorates in order to deliver the best possible result for their respective governing parties. By comparison, our system encourages participation and allows for all parts of our community to be fairly and equally represented. We should be proud of our electoral system, and we must protect its democratic foundations. We are fortunate to have our system of compulsory and preferential voting, as well as an independent electoral commission and commissioners. But at the same time, there is always room for improvement, and there are always new challenges emerging that need to be addressed. And one of the biggest risks facing our system today is the fact that so many citizens have a limited understanding of how it works. The lack of civic understanding has created a knowledge gap that is too easily filled by inaccuracies and falsehoods on social media. For example, you don't have to go too far on social media to see people railing against our electoral model and claiming preferential voting somehow leads to illegitimate outcomes. Individuals like Anthony Green and Dr Kevin Bonham have carried the torch for Australia's electoral system in the media and on social media, continually myth-busting and calling out the online lies. The New South Wales and Australian electoral commissions have also worked hard to combat misinformation. But if we had greater community understanding of electoral processes in the first place, then the myths and the conspiracy theories would be harder to spread. Lack of understanding about the system also serves as a disincentive to active participation. People who don't vote probably don't contact their local MPs about important issues, and it's highly unlikely that they would nominate for an elected position on their local council, in the state parliament or in federal parliament. Mr Deputy President, if you're disengaged from the political system, you're effectively disenfranchised. So if we accept that having diverse representation in the political system is important and leads to better public policy outcomes, then improving civics education across the community is the rising tide which lifts all boats. To that end, this report's recommendations on civics education are particularly important, and I look forward to seeing those recommendations considered by the government. As the report notes, civics education is not just about educating children while they are at school, it's about providing lifelong learning opportunities for adults to learn about civic institutions and structures as well. As parliamentarians, we also have a responsibility to be part of the solution and to help educate our constituents about the way our political institutions operate. It's a responsibility that I certainly take very seriously. And finally, Mr Deputy President, I'd like to mention the important recommendations regarding barriers to participation, especially with respect to voting. Our system of voting on election day works well for most people who speak English, who have easy access to polling booths, don't live in remote locations, have no significant mobility or sensory issues, and can see. And in fact, if you tick all of those boxes, voting can be an easy or unremarkable day out, capped off with a democracy sausage at the end. But for others, the system doesn't work so well. Voting can be confusing, it can be daunting, and at worst, it can be undignified. That's why we need to have a variety of different ways for people to cast a legal vote, ways that recognise different people's abilities and circumstances. And finally, Mr Deputy President, I would like to thank everyone who contributed to the inquiry through their submissions and by appearing at hearings, and I thank them for their contribution to building a stronger democracy in New South Wales.
Thank you. Any further speakers?